What's up, nail geeks, and welcome back to another Arcana Lacquer video. This month, or rather this release, we have a nice juicy collection to check out. We have the Victory Road collection. Yes, you heard that right. This is a Pokemon-inspired collection. Abby and Brandy, the two owners of Arcana Lacquer, are kindred spirit nerds to yours truly. I'm a big Pokemon fan too. I think you can see my Togepi Pikachu's back there too somewhere. I'm missing Dragonite. He's missing. I need to get that squish. But anyways, the makers the two of them have created their dream team of 6 Pokemon. And so that's why we have the 12 altogether. So each of the official descriptions as I go through the swatches, you will also be hearing what Pokemon each one was inspired after. I think they did such a good job that it's very obvious, not only with the color and the formula, but also with the names too. Very clever and just adorable overall. I'm always here for some nerdy stuff. So without further ado, let's dive right in. Future Sight is a muted pink with purple to red shimmer and red metallic flakes. This one's inspired by Espeon. We have a jelly type of formula going on here. It built up pretty well to opacity at 3 coats for me. Now, I wouldn't classify this as building up to, say, a true type of opacity. I think that pink shimmer is what's going to give you that pseudo-like opacity, if that makes sense. Very fitting for Espeon, in my opinion. And the red flakes didn't really give me any texture per se. So I think any glossy top coat of your choice works just as fine. Now I'm going to strongly suggest going up to 3 thin coats with it. This almost has that quartz type of milky type of effect and how it builds up. So your preference, but personally, I just thought that 3rd super thin coat worked the best. Ice Scales is a gray icy blue jelly base with light blue flakes and silver magnetic pigment. This one is inspired by Snom, and I'm finding that after some of these newer generations, I'm not recognizing some of these names, so I definitely need to go Google these up. Ice Scales, to me, builds up really well at 2 coats. Now, I want to note that the magnetics in this release, I didn't have the best luck using the Magic Magnetic Top Coat, so I'm going to recommend going in and magnetizing each of your layers. If that's how you prefer to do it, then you're just fine, but I wanted to note that. This one built up really well, and it does have a bit of thirstiness, so use a good glossy top coat. Dreameater is a dark purple jelly base with blue to purple ghost flakes, red to black chrome glitter, and red to black to violet shimmer. This one's inspired by one of my personal favorites, Gengar. We have a jelly formula, and it builds up wonderfully at 3 light coats. Those of you rocking shorties, you might be able to get away with 2 coats, just depending on the length of your free edge. And it does have a very heavy type of jelly formula, so just go in normal, and personally, I would not overwork your brush. Just spread it like butter on toast, if that makes sense. It does have a very harsh type of dry down. It's pretty flat. So if your top coat, say, is of a thinner variety, maybe using a thin coat of glitter smoother to help it out. But overall, I think a really good plumping glossy top coat is best. Seed Sower is one of my top picks in this set. This one is described as a creamy, muted purple Crelly base with green shimmer. This one's inspired after Smoliv, and it's a really interesting, almost neutral against my skin tone type of base color, and the shimmer is quite strong. This has that glossy jello jelly type of formula to it, easy application on the brush strokes, and it built up really well for me at 3 light coats. If you have any type of free edge, I'm going to strongly urge you to do that 3rd coat. Again, go in light and just gently, slowly build it up. This will dry down semi-flat, so I think any top coat is perfect for it. This is really interesting to me. I really appreciated that contrast between the shimmer and the base color. Razor Leaf is a teal green jelly base with green, yellow, blue small particle flakes and green shimmer. This one is inspired after Bulbasaur, and we have another jelly-ish type of formula. I chose to wear this one up to 3 coats, and it's on the softer type of buildup, very much like Seed Sower. I would slightly throw it out there that if a visible nail line bugs you, you may want to use a blurring base if you tend to go up to 2 coats and that's your preference, but otherwise if you go up up to 3 coats, you might have better coverage of that visible nail line. So a lot of these, based off of that jelly-ish type of formulas, are really going to depend on how you apply and your personal nail preference, whether they're natural or falsies. Honey Gather is a golden yellow jelly base with pink to yellow shimmer and bronze reflective glitter. We have flat out, I'm going to call this a mustard type of color. It's definitely what I would consider a more goldenrod, but there is a strong mustard lean against my skin tone. This will absolutely play up against your respective tone: warm, cool toned, neutral toned, light, medium, dark, that type of thing. It's on myself, again, very mustard-like. It has a smooth type of jelly base going on with it, and it's easy peasy application. Now, this is what I would consider scattered type of reflective glitter sparkle finish. So it doesn't give you that super gritty dry down. So I personally didn't really see a need to use a glitter smoother with it, unless of course your top coat is thin, of course. And next up is Unique Horn. This is a black when cold to white when warm thermal base with red to orange and green to blue flakes. This one is inspired after ponitas. This is another jelly type of finish, and I do think that there is quite a bit of versatility with this one in that the warm state to this thermal is on the somewhat clear side. It says in our PR information it's white, but I almost want to classify it as like a milky type of white. So because of that, I do think you could get away with probably wearing some colored undies with this. Of course, you're going to have a bit of that milky-ish type of cast over it, but I do think there's versatility here. No texture or anything from those flakes. Ceaseless Edge is a very dark blue when cold to medium blue when warm thermal with red to orange shimmer and red reflective glitter. This is one of my top picks in the set. Honestly, these last couple of special effects just blew me away. I loved them to pieces. This one, I would have to say, might have to be my number 1 pick, maybe probably my number 2, and you'll see in just a moment why. But Ceaseless Edge has that super glossy type of jelly finish to it, easy buildup. Now it does have a touch of texture, not super gritty because again, we don't have a straight up reflective glitter finish. But if your top, again, same thing, repeating myself here, is on the thinner side, you might want to use a glitter smoother with it. Thermal properties between the cold and warm state were excellent, very obvious, and that shimmer is chef's kiss throughout the whole finish. Dragon Darts is another one of my top picks. This one is a dark turquoise base with pink to yellow shimmer and powdery blue magnetic pigment. Now, this one is really cool when you magnetize it. I don't know, this one might have to be maybe my first pick, or I guess maybe my second. I don't know. Again, the special effects are awesome in this collection. So Dragon Darts is another one that I chose to magnetize each of the layers. Again, it didn't play very well with the Magic Magnetic top coat. No worries there. If you were to unmagnetize, as you saw in between my layers, you will get a nice chrome type of finish, but magnetizing, it is magic. There's a ton of shimmer going on in that backdrop, and it's got an easy shift over between that nice purple smoky color and that gold you see on my macro shot there. Sacred Fire is a darkened red when cold to bright red when warm thermal base with red to green shimmer and hollow magnetic pigment. This one, I guess, would have to be my first pick, my absolute favorite. If you can only pick one polish out of the entire release, make it this one. Now, typically, I don't care for special effect upon special effect, meaning, you know, it glows in the dark. It is also a thermal and it's also a magnetic. But in this collection, the ones that have multiple stacked effects like this, I think they're done so well. Thermal properties, you can easily see the warm and cold states, and then the magnetic pigment looks really cool over it too. Now, I also chose to use my bar magnet for this release also because my ring magnet is just on its last leg with how much I have broken it to pieces. So Sacred Fire does have a thermal type of dry down, meaning it's very matte in how it dries down, so use a good glossy top coat. Pickpocket is a bright pink jelly base with different sizes of blue to purple flakes. So again, jelly formula. This one has that almost jelly sandals type finish to it. And of course, it kind of amps up that vibe even more, given that it's that nice pinky type of color. This is what I would classify as almost somewhat flirting with being a sheer type of finish. If you're rocking natural nails or artificial nails, any type of smile line whatsoever, I think you're going to see a little tiny peekaboo effect. My full hand shot, when I'm kind of wiggling there, you can kind of see through my falsies. That will give you a good idea of that. With that said, a blurring base coat will absolutely solve that problem. So your preference on that. I think 3 light coats, because we've got a really squishy formula, and a glossy top coat is best. And last but not least is Ancient Crystal. This is a light cyan jelly base with purple shimmer and red to orange to yellow flakes. Another jelly type of formula going on here, very much like Pickpocket. However, there is a touch more of an almost curly lean to it. I think that second and third coat buildup gives you the best representation of that. For that reason, with that extra bounce to the formula, I'm going to suggest going in real thin. This one will also dry down quite flat, not textured or anything, which I was pleasantly surprised given how the flakes are of the chunkier variety. There's a medium to large type scale, in my opinion. Again, my disclaimer on a blurring base coat will apply here too in the event that you have very visible free edge. And we're going to wrap this up with the Will It Topper segment. This is where I use a black swatch stick to demonstrate if polishes have layering capabilities. Lots of softer types of finishes outside of the special effects. So spoiler alert, blanket statement, what have you. I do think a lot of these will translate well over pretty much any type of undie color. Of course, matchy match works best. The magnetics, as you can see on ice scales, it looked awesome over black. So you can get creative with that one. Dreameater might be the one outlier, just how dark it is. So maybe just black or maybe eggplants would work best. And then, of course, going through out here, we've got a lot of that similar type of vibe in that they do build up really well in their own respect. But of course, we've got lighter formulas on the polishes here in the middle of the Will It Topper segment. And then the thermals, they work pretty well over black, but I'm always going to say at special effects, I don't really see the point in doing that, especially thermals, because you're kind of taking away the whole point of what you're doing. And the thermals in this release, in my opinion, are too opaque also to do that. Pickpocket looked really cool over black. Again, just remember this one and then Ancient Crystal, of course, have very tinted bases. The Victory Road collection will launch starting January 10th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I will link you all below to Arcana Lacquer's website if you want to check that out. And I will also link you to Arcana's Instagram page. And I think there's a Facebook group. I will have all that information in the description box below too, if you want to follow the brands on other social medias in addition to that. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching.